Zimbabwean lawyer Brian Kagoro joins us in studio now to unpack these developments. Mr. Kagoro, thank you very much for making it into studio.
Thank you.
Talk to me about what your sense is here. What is happening? Is there a delay or perhaps a refusal to issue these temporary work permits for these two lawyers?
At the very most, I suspect that there may have been an intention to refuse, but understanding the implications, both constitutional and political, these may be issued. So for the minister to find a way out, he has to suggest that he was furnished with insufficient documents.
It's interesting because I spoke to someone that obviously I cannot disclose that, but someone very high placed, that indeed the lawyers are actually making their way back to Zimbabwe this afternoon, and this is now being touted as having been just quote unquote a delay. So there must have been some foul play. Was it?
Well, the tensions within the Mnangagwa administration between hawkish elements and those elements who understand the international ramifications of seeming to play using the Mugabe script as opposed to a new dispensation script. So, in essence, there's absolutely no reason why any government should panic at the fact that a neighbor, especially South Africa, which has been highly supportive of Zimbabwe, is sending lawyers. The Zimbabwean lawyers, who are highly capable, intimated that they needed their colleagues who have had more time arguing constitutional matters. The South African Constitutional Court has been in existence slightly longer than the Zimbabwean, and electoral litigation at the constitutional level has happened a little bit more here than in Zimbabwe. So this sharing of expertise and experience is consistent with SADC's own regional integration process, and it would be quite out of turn for Zimbabwe, which recently was elected to head the SADC organ on politics, defense and security, to act this way.
How worried should the Mnangagwa camp be, given what the MDC has said, that they have an ace up their sleeve in as far as the elections in Zimbabwe are concerned?
I think what has happened with the petition, if you look at the papers filed, there are about 7 sets of arguments being made. The first, the MDC has put on record, and the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission has admitted some of the allegations, that there was a result declared on TV, and that result was wrong. And subsequent to the fact, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission went and amended the result, that they didn't have the authority to amend that result. And then after a few reconciliations, it has proffered a different result. So in essence, the declared result, which was disputed by the MDC, was inaccurate, and ZEC tried to remedy this. So that's one set of arguments, which is the margin of error. Then there is a fundamental argument being made by not just the MDC, but the 5th respondent, who's Dr. Manyika, the 17th respondent, Dr. Shumba, who are alleging that this election did not meet the constitutional standard of being free and fair. And that, in essence, if the court agrees with them, that the election should be set aside and a fresh poll should be called. The Chamisa argument has an added dimension to it, which says, listen, if you just do the mathematics right, Chamisa won and not Mnangagwa. So the court should declare Chamisa the winner and not Mnangagwa. So we have a festival of issues. But ZANU-PF, on the other hand, Mnangagwa, on the other hand, has raised the point that perhaps these papers may have been filed out of time, and that in citing some of the other losing candidates, the MDC was trying to smuggle evidence through the back door. But in essence, under constitutional law, the right to free, fair, and credible election, we normally add the word transparent election, is an entitlement of all citizens. So the respondents, not only as losing candidates, but also as citizens, are entitled. Anybody else could have joined this petition if they had so desired.
Mr. Kagoro, are we expecting here a long, drawn-out court process, or will it be, a very short-lived sort of process? But ultimately, how receptive will Mnangagwa be in either calling for a fresh election or perhaps nullifying this poll altogether?
So the matter has been set down for one day. And according to the Zimbabwean political superstition, you set down a matter for one day with such complexity, it suggests that either the court will deal with the matter on technical grounds, which are the objections on whether the matter was properly filed in time Number two, on whether the citations are correct. But it does happen that a matter may be set down for one day because the court thinks, based on the admissions made by the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission, it's possible to have judgment in one day because it would be settled on the papers, but also settled on the admission of the parties. I'm not sure that the matter has anything to do with either Chamisa or Mnangagwa being receptive of the judgment of the court. It has all to do with whether, in application of the law and with regards to the facts, the ruling of the court is such that the errors made create an impression that the election was neither free nor fair, but also that there was a fundamental error done in determining who the winner was. And the declaration, therefore, by ZEC can be set aside. But there's something that perhaps I need to point out. The court is entitled to substitute its own order for the order given by ZEC. So let's say that the court deems that it will only confine itself to the admitted errors. Then it can declare the correct result as that which is admitted and not disputed by the parties based on the calculation, which would be a fundamental travesty. I think the merits of this case must be heard. If for anything else, the errors in Zimbabwe's elections are not self-correcting. We've had these errors since 2000.
Just as a final question, the judiciary in Zimbabwe, there's been mistrust. Can the judges at the Constitutional Court be trusted to deliver a judgment that is not partisan?
It remains to be seen. I think that the judiciary has tended either to be self-censoring, sometimes conservative, preferring to focus only on technical matters when there are bigger political questions to be determined. My own sense is that it's a big bench that's going to determine this matter. It would be unfair to simply refer to such a big bench as captured, because there's a diversity of legal opinion, but the expertise is phenomenal. Whatever view you take, we have some of the finest legal minds sitting on that bench and some of the finest legal minds on both sides arguing this particular petition. And it's being televised. It would be a missed opportunity if the Zimbabwean judiciary opted for a politically convenient judgment.
Brian Kagoro, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much indeed for coming through. He is a constitutional law expert. Still